Welcome back to the Live, Build, Change podcast, Morning Mindset Edition. This is a podcast edition episode, morning shot in the arm, so to speak, to help you think rightly about yourself for this day. Don't get all wrapped up thinking about tomorrow or what you got to do next week. Man, you've got to get through today first. And I'm not saying that in a sense of, enduring whatever this day brings just so you can get to another day. I'm saying you've got to get through today with victory in your life, right? You want to live this day well. You want to live it in the power of God to accomplish the things He intends for you to accomplish in it, whether it's something hugely amazing that you can't even imagine, like I don't even know, something beyond your comprehension, or whether it's something that seems relatively small, like loving a family member or a coworker. Being patient with someone, those are equally important things. And this morning mindset is aimed at helping you get there and live this day in that kind of a way. Now, we've been looking at Romans chapter 6, and Paul has made the case that we as believers in Jesus Christ are now dead to sin. That's a truth about our identity. We have died and we are no longer slaves to sin, and we're now living to God. And that is a truth we've got to embrace, and we've got to embed in our souls. We've got to memorize it. We've got to believe it with all that we are. And he says when we understand that, we also understand we have a responsibility to go to war against sin. We're not just to sin and trust God's grace to take care of it. He's saying if you think that way, you're not getting it. You are dead to sin. Your identity has changed. You can no longer live in that way. And so he says in verse 12, which we covered yesterday, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body to make you obey its passions. And in verse 13, he gets a little more practical. He says, do not present your members. He's talking about the members of your body to sin as instruments of unrighteousness, but present yourselves to God as those who have been brought from death to life, and your members to God as instruments of righteousness. For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under law, but under grace. So what Paul's saying is, being under grace does not give us a license to sin. That's a wrong understanding of grace. Being under grace means we've been given the power to defeat sin in our lives. And we have to start by setting our mind to accept the fact that we are dead to sin. It no longer is fitting for us to live in a sinful way because it's not who we are. It's simply not who we are to do that. I mean, you think of things that in terms of natural orders of the way nature is designed. I mean, it's not in a dog to meow. Why? Because he's a dog. He just doesn't meow. He barks. It's just unnatural for a dog to do that. And that's really along the line of the point Paul is making here. It is unnatural for one who has been redeemed by Jesus Christ, who has died with him and been raised to life, to live in the old way of living. We are new creations with a new life. And we are to be fighting sin now, rather than tolerating it, rather than giving in to it, rather than allowing ourselves to feel defeated by it. We are to take on a new attitude. And we are to not present ourselves to sin as instruments for unrighteousness, or our members as instruments of sin. We are to present ourselves to God. And on tomorrow morning's episode of The Morning Mindset, I want to talk to you about some very specific ways that I feel we do often present ourselves as instruments of unrighteousness. And it may be a little touchy, it may be a little, controversial to some people who listen. But if you'll hear me out, and if you'll think about this from the context that Paul is speaking, I think you'll get what I'm saying. So join me tomorrow for the Morning Mindset edition of Live, Build, Change.